Welcome to Community Connections. I'm Tom Laux, and today we're going to talk about the Neighborhood Watch. And I have three individuals from the Wisconsin Rapids PD. And I have Kurt Heuer, the Chief of Police here for the city. I have Nate Reblin and Rusty Roe here with me. We're going to talk about this great program that started back, I believe, quite a while ago, but I'm going to turn it over to Kurt, and he's going to tell you guys about when it began.
Well, thanks for having us, Tom. And in Wisconsin Rapids, actually, the program Neighborhood Watch has been in place prior to my tenure here and prior to Nate and Rusty's tenure. But going back, Neighborhood Watch actually embraced nationally back in the 1980s, and it was a cooperation, collaboration between law enforcement and citizens of an area, of a neighborhood that wanted to work together to really make sure that they could mitigate, reduce crime, and have a good, healthy neighborhood by neighbors watching out for neighbors. And so we brought that, and Nate and Rusty both have a strong interest in working with our community, as do our other officers, and their expertise certainly is in environmental design, how to protect your properties, how to protect your business properties, how to get information that should be shared with law enforcement to law enforcement, because our community many times are our eyes on what's going on. And so when they share that information, we can address that and correct issues. So in 2012 really is when we really started embedding that again in Wisconsin Rapids and looking for interest in our neighborhoods. And Nate can certainly talk specifically, as well as Rusty, how that really took hold in Ward 1.
Well, Nate, let's talk about it. You get out on the streets a lot. That's what you guys do.
Yep.
You get to see what it's about, talk to a lot of the residents. Are they happy with that? Are they interested in seeing you guys out there and working closely with them?
I think one of the things we hear most is that they want to see us more in their neighborhoods, and that just having the cars driving through and knowing that there's an officer there that they can touch out to or reach out to and touch base with is important to them.
And Rusty, you've seen the same, I bet.
Oh, for sure, yes.
Alrighty. Well, let's talk a little bit about how someone can get involved into this program. It takes residents to get the word out. You guys are everywhere at once, so that's what really the Neighborhood Watch is all about. So I'll ask you, where can someone get involved and start?
They can certainly talk to us at the police department. Either myself or Rusty would be able to provide them with information. There's a couple contacts. Their alderperson is a good person for them to touch base with also, and kind of get direction as far as who to reach out to. What we really like to see is to have a solid group of people that come to us together and say, we want to have a neighborhood watch, now help us organize it. So it needs to have a small group to start out with. That's usually what works best.
Let's talk a little bit about numbers. What's our group size right now in a program that we have now?
The active neighborhood watch we have is most of Ward 1, and today we just had a meeting today, and I believe there's about 15 people there today. They do a lot of the brochure handing out. They are organizing another cleanup for the yard waste and things like that this spring. So that's kind of our core group, and then they'll disseminate information out to their neighbors in that.
So right now we're working closely with Ward 1, and I would assume you hope to build that in the other wards. So if other wards or people in that ward are interested, they should contact also their alderperson, is that right? Yeah,
Chad Worrell's been instrumental in creating that and really driving that neighborhood watch and the community cleanup aspect throughout Ward 1, and he's fired up and ready to go. So. Well, I know a lot of city crew helped with that cleanup on that day. It was a popular event, as we all know, hundreds of tires and just a lot of junk.
It was, yeah, it was an incredible event, and I think it was, it went well beyond the neighborhood watch component we're talking about today. You know, because really they did a neighborhood cleanup along with instilling neighborhood watch or getting it started. And Kathy Rosh was so instrumental as well, along with Chad Worrell, Alderperson Worrell, to really take this on and have incredible energy around it. And we truly hope that other alderpersons, you know, there's going to be some new alderpersons coming onto the council. We've appreciated working with those that have chosen to move on, but we'd love to see this be infectious across the council, alderpersons, as well as, you know, them encouraging individuals within their ward, hey, this is a great program in Neighborhood Watch to put in place so that neighbors can help watch out for neighbors. and we can keep, crime at bay and keep a high quality of life and quality of living throughout all of Wisconsin Rapids.
I just want to define neighborhood watch just so everyone understands exactly what it is, because it's not just really watching out for crime either. It's beyond that. Is that right?
It really is, and I'll just share a little bit of my philosophy on, Nate and Rusty, who are out on the streets and we're interacting with our community as well. But, neighborhood watch you're right, it's not just about crime, but it's just about neighbors watching out for neighbors and interacting with neighbors. And unfortunately, over time, we tend to not know our neighbor as well as we used to. But this is a great opportunity to get to know your neighbor. If your neighbor has to be gone on business or is going to be gone on vacation or maybe has to be in the hospital for a period of time, to have that relationship where they can say, hey, I'm going to be gone for these days, would you mind watching my residence for me? I'm going to have maybe lights on a timer, or I'll need my mail taken in, or the shovel the walks during a snowy winter. But it's to create those connections so that neighbors know what neighbors are up to, and if there's something that is a little out of play, then they're aware of it, and they can report that, and they can share that.
And I'm sure you've heard those stories. Comes right up to the squad car, by the curb, and they say so-and-so, is that right?
Absolutely.
Is doing this, so.
Yep.
Pretty much happens, I bet, on a daily basis almost.
It does, and it's nice that we're out there. I know I get enjoyment by being recognized in the neighborhoods I patrol, that I'm not just a police officer, that I'm Officer Reblin, that people can recognize me, and I know I get a lot of satisfaction out of that. And like Chief had touched on, it's not, we've lost sense of what a neighborhood is over the years. People are inside on TV, they're using their computers, they're on their cell phones. They're not out in the backyard playing football anymore. They're not touching their neighbors around them and bringing them into their lives anymore. And so we're trying to instill that again too.
And Rusty, you've seen children out on the streets a lot, and you think this program also helps, neighbors watching their kids and kids watching each other, so nothing would happen.
Oh, for sure. In fact, in our meeting this morning, Kathy just spoke how the warm weather the last couple of days, she saw tons of people outside, and it was rejuvenating to her that more people were outside enjoying their time in the neighborhood. So yeah, definitely.
Well, I bet Kathy wouldn't mind a call if someone's interested in working in that Ward 1, because that's right where she's out of.
I think so she would enjoy that.
She wants people to contact her about that neighborhood watch, also probably the spring cleanup as well. Kind of tied in together, but it's really worked simultaneously together. So
yeah, it really has. It was a great time to come together and get some great work done.
Has this program helped solve any crimes that you guys have been working on?
I think that we've seen an increase in knowing when there's an odd vehicle in a neighborhood that just doesn't belong there. We've gone back on that and found that that vehicle either didn't belong there and was going to commit a crime, or that maybe we've prevented crime. And I know it's definitely solved. Just the other day I had a burglary that the neighbors all watch each other's houses and they say, I saw a car that came by the night before. I'm not sure if it pulled in your driveway or not, but they gave us a description, and here it matched the description of the vehicle that we were looking for in that particular burglary. So,
and there's no way you guys have 40 officers out on the streets, because there's not even 40 officers to be able to do that. So that's where that neighborhood watch. And now, if they do see something and they're the part of the neighborhood watch, or even a resident, who should they call? 911 or some other number?
It certainly depends on what the circumstances are. If there's an emergency, we always recommend that 911 be contacted first. After that, we've got our police department phone number. And if it's a non-emergency type complaint, by going through our phone tree, they can direct that call to the appropriate person.
Now, is there any training that they have to be involved with? You're not really asking anybody to solve a crime or be in any danger. Is that correct, Kurt?
That is correct. While they're the eyes in the community that may see things that information needs to be shared, it could be critical to, solving a crime or preventing a crime. That information needs to be shared with law enforcement. They're not to take that, into their own doing.
Correct.
That's what these guys are for.
Right, and
we want to create that positive relationship and that information be shared with these guys.
Mm-hmm. And if it's not an immediate concern, they can email Nate and I, call Nate and I, whatever they want. So.
All right, yeah, if there's any concern, otherwise if they really do feel something that's in danger, 911's the quickest way, and dispatch would get an officer out to the scene as quickly as possible.
And I think sometimes too that certain residents feel that because they have a really good working relationship with a certain officer that they want to make contact with that officer, and sometimes that's not the quickest way to get a problem solved. And so we always encourage that if it's a real emergency that they contact dispatch.
And sometimes you guys do switch your areas of coverage, right?
Sure.
You're not always in the same wards. Maybe you might be on the east side, you might be on the west side one day, just
Right.
for coverage, or if something, an accident or a crash, something was happened, you might have to go over there and hightail it. So,
You know, neighborhood watch groups, as they get stood up, you know, they'll have the Rusty Roes and the Nate Reblins or whomever has that assignment to connect with, to learn from, and we help get them the resources and the things that they need to put in place, and then they really build their own neighborhood organization. But even if that's not the case, I mean, we've been talking about, you know, when you see something, is that an emergency that I need to report? Whether you're a neighborhood watch or not, we encourage all citizens, make that call and get that information into dispatch, whether it's 911 emergency or whether it's the non-emergency, but to share that information, because as shared, Rusty's going to have relationships out there, Nate, our other officers, they're not always working, but we're a team. So when somebody has to share information, share it with the team, it's going to get to the appropriate people.
right. Neighborhood Watch really started out in the counties area, right before it really hit in cities. That's kind of where the program started, is that right?
National Sheriff's Association embraced this back in the 80s and really saw it as a means to, and when you think about our rural geographic, you know, while we have residences, farms, et cetera, they're very spread out. Geographically, they're very spread out. County Sheriff's Departments, I mean, they'll literally have the same amount of sworn officers that we do for a vast geographic area where we're much tighter, you know, in the city. So it really relied on neighbors watching for neighbors because there wasn't always that neighbor or that law enforcement presence or that quick response because of a smaller geographic area. So it started there, but certainly grew into our cities. And so, you know, we see neighborhood watch, community watch, business watch, you know, throughout our county, and, you know, but it really started rural and moved its way in. They saw the value.
But it is a team atmosphere. It's not just you two or you three, it's the entire force working in this program. So an officer does get out on a scene and some resident wants to talk, it'll get back to the initial team, which is you two, is that right?
Right.
But everyone's a big part of it. You got to be a part of it.
Absolutely.
Let's just talk about any cost for the program and how that works. Is that paid by taxpayers or is that a grant?
Well, the way we had built it here is Nate did a lot of legwork sitting down and meeting with Ward 1 interested parties such as the Kathy Raj, Alderperson Worrell, et cetera, to start building this. And we did have some funds available in kind of our community policing line item budget where we were able to purchase some signage. And that signage then was placed in the appropriate spots so that that Ward 1 Neighborhood Watch neighborhood could be properly identified. So there's a cost to the signage, but really beyond that, you know, the production of some brochures by committee members, and Nate and Rusty could speak to those types of things, but it's really a low cost, almost no cost. It's really the ability of people just coming together and creating an understanding of what this is, and then just, you know, following that on a day-to-day basis and just watching out for your neighbors.
Now there are some brochures. Are they over at City Hall that people could pick up?
Yep, we have the National Neighborhood Watch Institute produces a booklet about how to start a neighborhood watch and how to organize it, different things that you can talk about at your meetings, people to contact, and we've got those booklets available at our police department. I dropped off a couple boxes with the Ward 1 group last year, and so they've been disseminating those out door to door, and so but we still have a bunch of those left as well.
Well, it sounds like you have meetings every few months, is that correct?
It varies. For a while we were doing it every month, and then we took kind of a break over the holiday season, and now we just had our first meeting of the year today. So
again, people can come to those kind of meetings, and
right.
how would a resident be able to find information when those meetings take place?
Ward 1 actually has a Facebook page. I believe it's Ward 1 Neighborhood Watch.
Okay.
On Facebook, and so they post their meetings and their agendas there.
All right.
People can like their page and post comments and things like that as well.
Okay, great.
And I believe they're also associated with our Facebook page.
All righty. Rusty, let's talk about how people can get more involved, especially on our east side of the town. I know you'd like to get some people and residents involved there.
Yes, ideally we'd like to see some groups form in the east side. Currently we don't have any established neighborhood watch groups on the east side of town, but I know there's residents out there eager to form something. So just communication between neighbors, having the ideas and the people to get the program started would be great. And they can contact me. Predominantly I work the east side of town, so that's my goal, is to get some groups started on the east side of town.
Yeah, and it's a large area, and there are some apartment complexes, a lot of children in that area, and I think that would be a great place for you know, a neighborhood watch to be able to look out for the kids and pedestrians, you name it.
Yeah, it's our larger residential side of the town, so I mean a lot of our our burglaries and things like that are happening on that side of town. So the more we can cut down on that, the better.
Are there any other services that you guys could do to help with Neighborhood Watch?
Well, I think one thing that ties in really well with the Neighborhood Watch is I've been fortunate enough to go to some training, and that includes crime prevention through environmental design. This addresses things like whether or not an area is well lit at times of darkness, or eliminating things that could make a burglary easier for a criminal. And so if a business or a resident is interested in having us perform that survey, they can contact the police department, and they can ask one of the shift commanders or ask anybody, and should get back to me, or they can email or call me directly. But that's a service that the police department offers, and we'd really like to start utilizing that. Great,
and then you guys can go out and look, and then possibly report it to the Public Works Department. Is that how that would work? And see if they were able to put a light in?
A lot of the lighting stuff that we, or the environmental design that we look towards, is things that business owners can do. So if there's a light bulb that's been burnt out over a back door for the past 5 years, that's something that we'll bring up and point out. It could be a 30-cent fix. They put in a new light bulb. Now that area of darkness is illuminated. The burglar doesn't have the opportunity to work on that particular door. If you've got a ladder leading up against your roof to a window that's accessible into the building, we would recommend they take that down. A lot of it's common sense things, but you get used to your environment, and so you don't notice these things from a criminal perspective.
Yeah, especially from your guys' perspective, you're driving around there 7, 8, maybe 10 times a day,
sure,
or maybe less, I'm not sure. But you're able to see the changes versus maybe somebody that goes there, lives there all the time. It looks the same. You just walk by it.
Right.
And you're able to see that and help point that out.
Right.
So yeah, you guys can go up and then help that person, or they can call you for any other questions.
Right.
Maybe how to fix something like a little light bulb, or just get an idea.
We talk a lot about landscaping. If you've got heavy hedges in front of your windows or doors, that's a spot where a burglar or a criminal could hide. It prevents us from being able to physically or visually secure your residence from the street, and so we want to be able to see what's going on and help the residents out as well.
Yeah, so lighting is really important in your jobs, or in fire department, be able to see things. I know one thing that you guys probably would like, and the fire department, is house numbers, that people could see those.
Right.
You guys need to see those. So a light on a house,
a
good example. Even part of a neighborhood watch, leave it on if you're gone, because a dark residence is not always a good thing.
Right.
Alrighty, anything else that you guys would like to share about this program? And it looks like it's really going well, and I'm glad you guys could come by. Anything else that you want to? All right.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I appreciate Nate and Rusty's efforts around this and their interaction with the citizens that, to date at Ward 1, they've been phenomenal. That should be something that I would hope that all of our other wards, older persons and citizens would look at and say, kudos, and we want to model after what they've done there, because it was a great transformation and built some great relationships.
Yep.
Alrighty, well, thanks again, guys, and thank you for watching Community Connections, and we'll be back with you next time.